All right, it's right at the top of the hour, 2 o'clock. Welcome to Together Tuesdays. My name's Kevin Vogel. I'll be your host today. Today we have a pretty jam-packed session here for you today. So here, obviously, this is me. Rob Vogel's going to be joining us today. Hi, Rob. How you doing?
I'm good. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. Melissa and Alex are both with us. Say hello, everyone.
Hey, everyone. Good afternoon.
Thanks for coming.
All right, Melissa and Alex are going to be actually watching anything that any questions you might have for either Rob or myself today. Please just enter them in the comments section here in the Teams meeting. Melissa and Alex will try to get to them as quickly as possible so that we can answer your questions. And then you can always obviously contact us at any time if you have a question, even after the session is over. Today, we're going to be talking about the new ServiceNow support ticket portal, and Rob's going to be covering that. He's going to do a demo for you. You'll be able to see exactly how it works. And then I'm going to be giving you a Viva update, and Viva is Microsoft's new employee experience that's part of Microsoft Teams. So I'm going to be walking you through. There's been a couple of new updates and new things that came out as part of the conference that Microsoft just had. So with that, I am going to turn it over here to Rob and let him start talking to you about the new support ticket portal that he's taken a lot of time to get right and to help you guys support your environments. Rob?
Perfect. Appreciate it. So like I said, good afternoon, everyone. About 2 months ago, we slowly started making our transition from our old support ticketing portal over to ServiceNow, which has been very successful. One piece of that, though, that we were missing was the self-service client side, so that everybody, all of our clients could actually log in and submit tickets, via that portal itself. We still had the other support methods that we had previously, which was the ability to open up tickets via a phone number, which has never changed. It has been the same phone number MessageOps has been using for years now. The support address, we made a small modification to, so that is support@messageops.com instead of the old Champion domain that we were using before. And the new method, which will be released this week, it's actually going to be released October 7th, which is Thursday this week. Around 9 a.m. Eastern. So if you try to log in a little bit sooner than that, it may not work. 9 a.m. is what we're aiming to have it released on, and that is going to be a ServiceNow portal, which I believe is on the next slide. If you don't mind clicking to the next one for me.
Yep. Oh, hold on one sec. Sorry.
Sure. Nope, no problem.
There we
Appreciate
go.
it. There we go. There it is. So that's Serious.com. That's service-now.com. So logging onto that portal, you'll be using your standard email address, which is associated to your normal Microsoft 365 account. The password, we're just going to recommend that everybody who tries to log in the very first time just uses the forget your password link, and that will send you out a notification to reset your password, and then you should be able to log in with no issues. So like I said, that will be out on Thursday. We're shooting for 9 a.m. Eastern, and we'll also be sending out before that time a guide as well that shows all the steps I'm about to show you as well.
Now,
I
Rob,
believe.
let me ask you a question. Is this all Office 365 and Azure?
So this would be any support or any services that they have with MessageOps can be opened up via this portal. So if you have a CSP, Microsoft CSP with us, you can open up a CSP case with us. If you happen to have our managed signature support offering, same thing. So any of the MessageOps services that you have with us can be opened via this portal.
So just one place to go now, and you're set.
Correct. You're just set to open up any tickets this way. And again, if you prefer to still call it in or to use the email method, that is available as well. And it will actually show any of the tickets that you open with us, not just the ones that you open against the portal. So just keep that in mind. Yep.
Hey, Rob, looks like there is a question in for you. Caleb is asking, can we enable SSO Azure AD for the ServiceNow portal?
To my knowledge, not at this time. It is unfortunately a separate password that you'd have to generate for it. That is a good question though, and I can ask our developers if that's something they can enable going forward, maybe with the use of tokens, like with what we do with Inkscape. But for today, no, it would be a separate password that you would have to manage yourself. And I believe on the next slide, it actually just shows a real quick screen cap of what the portal looks like. So there you go. Really pretty simple and straightforward. And I'll definitely demo it to you guys in a second. Your portal may vary depending on the different services that you have with Sirius. This will show up, these are just, I'm using a demo account in this example. So you can see there's a whole bunch of different services that we offer. For a lot of you that may just have CSP or signature support services, you may only see, MessageOps, Microsoft services on there, or if you have managed security services, so on and so forth. But for the most part, it should look pretty uniform for everybody on here. So I'm just going to steal the screen real quick and share mine out. And please let me know when you can see it.
We got you, Rob.
All right, perfect. So really, there's only two sections on here today that I'm going to show. The first is, well, how do I open a support ticket once I'm logged in and need to open one? You're going to actually go on the left-hand side here, and you're going to go to report an incident. So there's two on here. It might make it a little confusing. Request a service is normally if like you have another user account that needs to have a password reset specifically to this portal. That's what the service request would be for. But to actually report an incident or a problem with our service desk, the bottommost button is the one you're going to want to click on. So if you go on here, there's a couple different options on here. We're going to want to click, again, report an incident. So we're just going to click that button here, and it will open up a few different fields on here. So by default, it should already default to your client name, which is why it doesn't let you select it here. And then it will ask, say, who is the user that is opening this ticket? So if you're opening it up yourself, your name should default right here. But say you're opening it up for another global administrator or another user at, who's better suited to assist on this problem, and we have them in our system, you can select them here. If they're not in the system, you can still choose yourself, and maybe in the description, just let us know who we need to help, and we can add them as a separate contact while working on the ticket. Impact, you choose what impact best supports this particular issue. So if it's maybe only affecting a single user, or maybe it's a couple users, but it's not really a big deal, that would be considered a low impact, or Microsoft would probably consider that like a SEV-C if we're using Microsoft terminology. For medium, so affecting usually a group of individuals, or maybe that would be like a C-level individual, that would be considered a medium impact, or urgent is how Microsoft would put that, or a high impact, which is normally reserved for business impacting events, usually affecting the entire organization or a good subset of the organization where a critical service is down. We normally recommend you only use high priorities for issues like that. And obviously, if we receive a ticket that is listed as high and it turns out it's only for a single user, we may reduce the severity based on what the actual problem is. And we use kind of our years of experience to make that determination. So for this particular one, we'll just throw that the impact is low. If you did have a previous incident, meaning that maybe you opened up a ticket with us a month or two ago, we closed it out as the issue maybe was resolved, but say it cropped back up or a similar issue occurred, you can actually go into the drop down and pick any previous, whether it was yes or no, and then you can actually go to the previous incident one here, and it will show all of your previous incident numbers in here, and you can actually select it. And that's really helpful if, for example, we worked on a particular problem, we can assign the same engineer who was able to resolve it, or even if that engineer is not available, we can go back to that ticket and review the notes to see what was done to resolve the problem originally. So very important to select that if you know that there's a previous incident that has been worked on. If there's any other, references that you guys want to keep track of, say that, maybe you opened an internal ticket inside your own ticketing system and you just want to keep track of our incident number compared to your incident number, you can use either one of these here, vendor reference number or the client reference number, whichever you feel comfortable with.
Hey, Rob, on that previous instance, is that just since you started the new portal, or have you carried over all the incidents prior that were in the other system?
It would be newer incidents. So for the last 2 months, unfortunately, an import, the systems were not compatible to provide a full import of the previous cases, but we do have access to the old ticketing system. So if you do happen to have the old case number and you want to reference it inside the ticket, we'll be able to look it up that way as well.
Okay, great. I just wanted them to know, what the previous incident meant. So. Yep,
not a problem. It's a very good question. In terms of business service, this should actually default automatically. Most clients are only going to have Microsoft services with us. I'm not sure it's going to let me pick it on this demo account because I'm not sure what services it has. But just let's imagine that when you're putting it in, it automatically has that. We'll just say internal services for this one, but it should say Microsoft services, which is what MessageOps Service Desk works on. Device or configuration item, you won't have to worry about. That one could be left blank. That's typically used for maintenance or managed services where servers or something is being managed and we have to do work on a particular item. So in this case, because what we work on is mainly cloud services, we don't have configuration items set up for Microsoft services. Short description is normally a sentence. So let's say, unable to log in to Microsoft Teams. Let's just say that's the problem. It's usually just a short sentence to give you a quick description of what it is, and then what's the problem. Let's say multiple users unable to log in, and then we normally ask the more information you can give us, the better. If you have, if you're giving us, people who can't log into, say, Teams, for example, you can then just provide us, the UPN or the user's email address, anything that helps us then dig in to figure out, okay, what's the commonality between these users? Are they sitting on the same pod server somewhere? Do they have a similar license? It helps us kind of narrow it down, and will usually help the back and forth a bit so we don't have to try to gather it later down the road. So the more information you give, the better. If you have any error logs, any screenshots, anything that you'd like to provide us as well, you can use the add attachments button here. You can add, to my knowledge, as many attachments as you want. I am not sure if there is a particular size limit on these attachments, but typically, most ticketing systems like this, it's usually under a gig is fine, as long as it's not massive. If it is a massive file that you're trying to do, normally it's easier if you can maybe give us a OneDrive link or Ignite or Cisco or any of those, or Citrix, I should say, any of those share file type links might be better to put inside the ticket description if you have those. Once you have the ticket all set up and done, you can just hit the submit button. What it'll do is it will submit your ticket, and then on the top of the screen, you will see that it will then give you that your request has been submitted successfully, and it will provide you the incident number. So please, either keep track of that. So if you ever have to call it in or ask for an update or what have you, you have that number right there. Now that the ticket is submitted, you could actually just click on the actual incident and it will bring you right to it. And inside the incident now, you can then see where is it currently. So you can see, it's been now submitted to the service desk. Any notes that any of the engineers working on the case submit will be available to view right at this bottom screen here. If you want to add any additional notes, maybe you forgot to add something in the initial request, or you're like, hey, I found something new, you can actually add in your comments here and post it, and it will send it right to the engineer so that they can view that and even have a discussion with you via the ticket if necessary. If anything changes with this ticket later down the road that you want to change, you can go to the severity and say, hey, it was a low impact. Now I consider it medium. It's more severe than it was previously. And can make that change there. Some of these other ones, unfortunately, cannot be changed. If it does need to be changed, you can request it inside the ticket, and we can make that modification for you.
So,
Great
Rob,
stuff.
you mentioned the difference between reporting an incident and a support request. Mm-hmm. Do you just want to go over that just one more time? We had a quick question about it.
Sure.
I was just going to get to that. Yep.
So normally, the way, you're most likely 99% of the time, if you're opening a ticket with us, are going to use the report an incident button. That's typically for, I have a CSP problem, I have a Microsoft problem, and we need assistance for it. The request a service button is, say, for example, maybe one of your end users or your technical colleagues comes to you and says, hey, I'm not able to log into the ServiceNow portal to open a ticket, and I need to have my password reset, and maybe the forget password button's not working, or maybe they don't even have an account. And you want to request an account. That's what the request to service is. It's service particular to this portal, where report an incident is a problem based on one of the services you have with Sirius or MessageOps.
Thanks. I think that explains it pretty well.
And then the last one I just want to show real quick is the My Work button here at the top. This is where you can actually go in and you can view all of the incidents that you have. So at the top here, you can see you have an open button and a close button. So this is going to show all the open tickets that your organization has currently, and close is going to show, if right now we don't have any because this is a demo account, but any of the closed tickets that you have previously as well. So in here, you can see we have multiple tickets. You can see here's the brand new one I just opened. Here's a test ticket I made earlier last week. You can click in here, and the same thing I showed earlier, you can come in, you can modify a handful of the settings, but the main thing is you can also put in notes for that ticket or review any notes that are on here currently. And a nice thing too is that if you come in here and you're like, hey, I opened a Microsoft ticket. It turned out to be a services problem on Microsoft side that they resolved, and everything's working perfectly now. You can just add in a note here for us to say, hey, it seems like Microsoft fixed whatever the problem was, and you can actually click the resolve incident button, and that will close the ticket out, and we'll get a notification saying, hey, the problem has been resolved. There's nothing more to do on this case. So gives you the option to let us know that. But outside of that, that is really all there is to it. The reports section right now currently doesn't have anything. We're working with the developers to start adding in reports. So if you go in there currently and look and you don't see anything, that's pretty normal. We wanted to get the portal out to you so that you can at least start using it to get tickets and being able to submit any notifications to us. And the reports are something we're currently working on, which we should have hopefully pretty soon. But that's pretty much it.
All right, well, thanks, Rob. I think that's a pretty in-depth view of what's going on here. I am going to actually share my screen again here so we can get back to where we were. I guess this is the right one. Oh, it is the right one. All right, and but if you have any questions for Rob or anyone on the support team, that's what we're here for. Please don't hesitate to ask Rob or his team. And he did do the portal, so we're pretty much done there. So what I'm going to cover here real quick, we have about 15 minutes, is Microsoft Viva. And as you probably know, Microsoft has been really pushing this hybrid work situation. And as you can see, they took a survey. 73% of the employees that answered the survey wanted flexible remote options to stay even after the pandemic was over. So, and the other funny thing was, at the same time, 67% of them said that they want more in-person collaboration post-pandemic. So I'm trying to figure out, and that's what Microsoft's trying to figure out, is how are we going to be able to accomplish giving them the ability to be more flexible from where they work, but also give them that in-person feeling that they're looking for. And that's really why Microsoft came up with Viva and the experience that they're giving here. And in fact, Satya made this statement I thought was pretty cool, so I put it in here. Everything becomes more complex, not less complex, when hybrid is part of the picture here. Because as you know, you have to secure a much broader environment than you did before. So Microsoft Teams is really the vehicle that Microsoft is using to help broaden that gap, to help these employees not only give them the flexibility of working anywhere, but also that face-to-face feel by doing meetings and things like we're doing right now, and we don't have to be in the same room. And that's including things like Teams rooms and other technology that will allow the end user to feel more involved even if they aren't there. And really, Viva is that next step to engage employees in that look and feel that they're looking for. And they've really broken this down into 4 different areas. Connections, which is kind of like a company Facebook, if you want to call it that. I know Facebook is getting really bad press right now, but just to use that as a generic term. But really, that's what Connections is all about, is bringing those people that you work with most often more conveniently located to you. Insights, which gives you the ability to, not only for yourself, but for your team, to be able to enhance how you're working every day, make sure you're being productive, but more importantly, giving yourselves those breaks that you need away from your desk, away from your work, to keep you at that high peak performance that we're talking about. Learning, which is something that we all have to do on a constant basis, and how are we going to either develop that criteria, those curriculums for people, and help them learn the things that they need to learn and not waste their times on things that aren't important. And then topics, things that the corporation really wants to emphasize over time about how their culture is going, where their business is going. So those topics can be departmental, can be enterprise-wide. And I think you'll see, once we start showing you how these work, how these four components actually work together to give you that cohesive feel. With connections, like I said, this is like bringing those people and those topics and those projects to you in a more convenient way and give you that outlook every morning, every afternoon, whenever you need it, to know where you are in your goals that you've set for yourself. So Connections gives you that ability not only to look at your feed, but also personalize it for your own dashboard. Not just the things that your corporation or your department gives to you, but things that you need. And you can do this obviously across devices, whether it's on your cell phones, whether it's in a dashboard that you create for yourself. You can see that this works across all of your devices to keep you in that frame of mind to help you get the most done with the time that you have. And you can see here that you can go in and you can use this for things like clocking in and clocking out, going back to work and so on. So very, very cool product when we're talking about Connections. When you're talking about, the next one, which is Insights, which I'm using today, and believe it or not, Insights is available to everyone who owns Teams right now. If you go into the Teams app list, you'll see Insights is an available option. No cost, you can do it for yourself. And that's really what Insights is all about at the beginning, is really about yourself. If you want to take it further than that and get into your organization, there's a cost for that. That's so your manager and your manager's manager and so on up the line can actually start looking at insights, giving you insights to help you do your job better. And that's, something that you can actually take advantage of right now. It's available to you. And one of the things that we're doing here at Sirius is helping people adopt these types of technologies through training and education so that you can actually pass it down to the people in the organization. So as you can see by Insights, this might be your own personal environment that you're running here, where you can give yourself a break. You can see, you got 3 days left in your plan to do this. And you can do all of these things for yourself individually without having to pay anything. If you wanted to take this to the next level, where we're talking about doing it as a corporate thing, a departmental thing, that's where it starts to come in. As you can see, this is where managers and leaders can now start giving insights around what their goals are and how you fit into the goals, not only of the department, but of the overall corporation that you're working with. Really great way to actually start a plan, finish it up, and keep a record of what's going on, where you are, and you could see whether it's your organization or your team, it's fine. It will actually do all of that for you. Viva Learning, and this is where you start to actually build curriculum for the different individuals in your place. And you can see there are not just tens, but hundreds of applications out there, and they aren't all around Office 365. You'll see that everything from advanced data structures to DevOps, if you're looking for that, Azure fundamentals, there's a whole bunch of already pre-done learning that's part of the learning. This is coming out this month, by the way. This was just announced the other day that this will actually be hitting in October. This is something that we've all been waiting for. And you can see that you can go in here, pull up a PowerPoint presentation, and actually get these things. I'm just going to stop that here real quick. Sorry about that. Of course, look at that. See, where's my PowerPoint just went away from me. Isn't that funny? Okay, hold on one sec and we'll bring it back. See, technology, great thing. So here we go. Let me just find the slide I was on so we can get there real quick. Sorry about this. Okay, so, topics is the next one. And this is what we were talking about. So we went through the first three, the insights, the learning, the connections, now topics, and topics is really built more around the corporate culture that you have involved here, so that you can have marketing take advantage of this. You have a project that's going on called SOAR. You make sure that the people in teams can actually go in, see where this project is. You get a project page. Sorry about this. For some reason, it's not liking this one, but sorry about that. But I'm just going to keep talking here. So, but you can see that this is really great products. This is the PowerPoint. This isn't the actual product here. So hold on one second here. Oh, so sorry about that. Again, blew it. My fault. We'll get back to it. We'll get past those so that this way I don't have anything wrong here. So one of the things that, you know, topics and the other things is digital exhaustion. You know, people, the funny thing is about this hybrid situation that we're in is people are actually working more hours, not less, and they're taking less breaks out there. So one of the things that Microsoft is building into these is the ability to set up these breaks, these areas where you can get away from your desk for 5 minutes, clear your thoughts, instead of going from meeting to meeting to meeting. And you could see that over time, you know, you just get drowned out with all the noise. So this is where all of these things, and you can give yourself, you know, everything from a return to workplace environment where you can answer surveys, make sure that you got, you know, vaccinated or whatever the corporate policy is, you know, when you're coming back to work and so on. So all of these things are just part of the whole thing. And even if you're not in the same room, by using things like Microsoft Teams rooms, it can feel like you're actually in an environment that's in the office. And I'm just going to skip through these. I know we're getting down here to the end, but just wanted to show you some of the ways that Microsoft Teams now, with Teams meetings and Teams rooms, can actually bring those people that are outside of the room and make them feel like they're more inside the room. So, you know, this is where things are going. I think you'll see this more and more in corporate environments that have people spread out all over the country and don't want to travel yet, but it's really a great way to get involved in here. So whether you're in the office, whether you're at home, as long as you're on a secured device, Microsoft's Zero Trust architecture goes across the whole platform. And that's really one of the key features, is to make sure. These are a couple workbooks that are available to you. You'll be getting this presentation. You can actually go down to Microsoft.com/hybrid work and get a really nice workbook that has to do with hybrid work. It also has to do with the flexibility guide that you can get. So I included all these things in there. But we do here at Sirius have quite a few workshops, a lot of them that get funded by Microsoft for us to perform for them. So whether it's hybrid work, whether it's Teams calling, collaboration, obviously security. One of the bigger things that we're doing right now is this no-code, low-code application development, using things like Flow or Power Automate. And then obviously the Cloud Accelerator Workshop is something that we've been doing for a really long time. So I heard a couple of bings. I don't know if that means that there's a couple of questions.
Yes, Kevin. Can you share your screen? Because I think people weren't seeing the PowerPoint. And then we do have an additional question. They're asking if Viva, if it's useless if they do not use Teams. That was the other question.
It is useless if they don't use Teams. But you should use Teams, but that's just me. I'm a Teams advocate. So the answer is yes. You can actually do some of it in a browser. And in fact, believe it or not, Teams works in a browser too. But this has really been designed to be deployed, to be utilized as part of that Teams environment. I hope that answers your question. Anything else, Melissa?
That looks to be it thus far. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, well, we are right here at 29 minutes after the hour. I tried to get through that as quickly as possible. We want to thank you for your time again. We know it's only a half an hour, but we try to give you some content that will help you every single time. Please, if you have suggestions on things that we should be doing every week here on Together Tuesdays, please don't hesitate to let us know. Get a hold of Melissa, get a hold of Alex, myself, and we'll be more than happy to try to include those topics in our next sessions of Together Tuesday. Thanks everyone for your time. Melissa, Alex, Rob, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And have a great week.